So the first step to doing a repair with vinyl is, especially when you've got a tear, is we need to flatten this down, because with vinyl, this intends to sort of like crease up. Because it's a plastic, it's not a leather, it intends to sort of like crease and buckle. So we need to flatten that. And how we're going to do that is with heat, with a hairdryer. You definitely don't want to use a heat gun on vinyl, because you're going to melt it, because it's going to, react too quickly. So what we need to do, because we need to get this flat, or you're going to end up with like a sort of bunch up with the repair, we need to sort of heat it to get the vinyl to lay smooth again. So that's the first step in the process. So we're going to use the hairdryer now, so just excuse the noise. And while we're heating it, we're trying to push it down with our fingers as well, so that we ensure that that goes flat. Right, so that is exactly where we need to be, so we can get it's still sort of lifting slightly, but we can get the backing fabric put in there behind there, then in this side, and then we can glue them two together, and we've got a nice sort of perfect, repair along that seam. So the next stage is going to obviously be getting in the backing fabric. So the next stage, as we said, is the backing fabric. So we've got the backing fabric already cut, we've rounded all the ends. You don't want this too big. It's sufficient to get grip on the width, as you can see here. The cut is there, so we've got sufficient either side, and the cut comes to here, so we've got sufficient as well either end. So we've got to get that actually fed in. Now that's the next stage that we've got to do, and that's obviously a bit like sort of precision. So we've got a few tools we're going to be to use with this. We've got the pins, which we're going to get in the middle of the fabric. We've got a impact adhesive, which is a solvent based glue. We've got a spreader to put the glue in, and I'm going to put some glue on here as well. So those are the sort of tools that we're going to need to do this job. First of all, let's get the pin roughly into the middle of the fabric and put that in position. So we've got the pin literally in position like so. Then we've got to get this fabric fed in. This is where we're going to open up the hole again, and we've got to get the fabric fed inside. This is the hard part. It's almost a bit like surgery, getting this fabric nicely fed in to the underside there, so that that all goes in really nicely. So we've got to get that fabric fed in. It's got to be really nice and flat as the fabric, so you don't want anything sticking up. Get that nice and flat, because if you don't get it flat, you're going to end up with a bump on the surface. So we've got to make sure that that's fed in properly, and it's really nice and flat there, and that's exactly how you want it to be. So that feels absolutely fantastic. We can now give that a little bit of a heat, because again the vinyl is lifting, so I'm going to heat that again to help reduce that sort of buckling down once more. The purpose of the pin in the centre of the fabric is to, once you put the fabric inside, it's to stop the fabric drifting. And what you don't want to do is to end up pushing it, and you end up with the fabric round here, and then you can't get that fabric pulled back into position. So this just keeps it centrally located. It's a fantastic little way to do it. We're going to get some glue, is what we're going to put on next, onto the actual pad. We'll get the glue onto here, and then we're going to feed the glue into one side first of all, put it down, and then we're going to feed the glue in to the other side. So that is the next stage that we're going to be at, is getting the glue on there. So let's have a look at getting that sorted now. Obviously, being a solvent glue, you want to try to stop any glue getting on the outside of the actual vinyl that you're repairing. So this is a vinyl repair that we're doing here. So it doesn't matter whether it's on a car seat or it's a marine item. Exactly the same principles. You want to use solvent-based glue. Even if you've got leather on a marine item, I would actually opt for a solvent-based glue like this impact adhesive, because that's going to give you that waterproof property that you need and the strength and durability that you're going to get with the conditions that you're going to be under with a marine item that could be getting wet from the water or the sea. So you've got to make sure that you've got that, you know, the sort of very longevity connection there between the material and obviously the backing fabric, between the back of the actual leather or the vinyl and the back of the you know, the item to go onto the material. So just make sure you get, so obviously it's a contact adhesive, so it sort of bonds on contact, but just gets, you know, plenty put in there. Once we've got that in one side, we can then push that down to the backing fabric. We can leave it for a few seconds, which is what we're going to do. We're going to just leave that for a few seconds, and then we're going to push that down, and then we're going to go and do the other side. So let's get that pushed down. We've left that for a few moments now, and that's going to obviously bond on contact, which is the whole idea of contact adhesive. So we need to get that pushed down and put in position. We're also going to be using some sellotape today. Now the sellotape is going to be to hold the tear together, because you want to make sure that that bond is bonded together. Now, being a contact adhesive, and again being a vinyl and it's being torn, it's unlike leather. Leather being a beautiful natural material will do exactly what you want it to do, whereas this is all going to want to like buckle, bend and lift and do all sorts, because it's a plastic derived product. It is plastic, it's vinyl, and it's just not a natural biodegradable thing, so it's just going to want to do what it wants to do. So now we've got this one side bonded, we can actually take the pin out. To take the pin out, put your fingers over and gently lift the pin out without pulling the fabric out. So again, put your pin back in here for safety, and let's get some more glue on here so that we can then bond into the other side and get the opposite side bonded down. So let's get that sorted now. So again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We are going to lift up this panel and we're going to push it onto the back of the vinyl like so. Get that right in there as far as you can get it in. Let's get a little bit more of the impact adhesive on there. So this is just Evo stick that we get from like B&Q, or if you're overseas in like America or Canada, you can get it from somewhere like Home Depot, something like that. We'll do that for you. Obviously, if you're an upholstery company, then you're going to have like a commercial, you know, big tub of this. There's a commercial enterprise if you're doing upholstery work. But again, we won't need to teach you how to do that, because you'll know how to do that. So that's that glued. So again, we're going to leave that for a few moments. And then what we're going to do, we're going to get the sellotape. And the sellotape is going to pull the two together. So let's just get the sellotape ready. So this is a clear sellotape. And then what we're going to do, we're going to pull it. We're going to put it on one side like so, and we're going to pull the tear together. So let's just leave that lead there for now. And once we're ready, I'm going to leave this for a few minutes. And once we're ready, we're going to pull that together. And once that's pulled together, we're then going to put a weight on here. So we're going to put a weight over here so that to keep that flat while it's curing and drying. So we've let that sit for a few moments now. That gives the time for the sort of contact adhesive, for the solvent-based glue to start to set. And as it says, it's, you know, it's contact adhesive, so it means it's contact, it bonds on contact. So we can now push that together. But what we're not going to do, we're not going to just push it together. We've got the sellotape on here, and we're going to use the sellotape to sort of almost stretch this without going too far, because what we want to do is we want to join the two lines together. Any excess that you see on the surface here, get that rubbed off straight away so that that doesn't dry, because the purpose of what we're trying to do is to create a tear repair that looks fantastic without the need to do any colouring and stuff like that. And we may need to do a little bit. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put the weight on here to keep that weight on the actual tear so that it stops it from lifting and buckling again like it did previously. I might just leave it on there like that. I was trying to get it so it was weighted on the full weight of the side, but we might be able to by doing it like that. So let's leave that there, and that can sit there and cure. Give that maybe a few minutes, and then it's going to fall over, but let's give it a few minutes. We might have to lay it flat, so let's just lay it flat, and then we can leave that to cure nicely, and then when we come back we'll remove the tape and show you how to do that. So we've let that sit for a while now, which has given it plenty of time to bond. It'll carry on, curing over the next sort of few hours as well, but the next stage is obviously to remove the weight that we put on there, and then we're going to remove the tape. Now, to remove the tape from a tear, you don't just sort of go picking it up and peeling it like this, because you're most liable to pull it back open again, because it's still going to be in a fragile state. So what we need to do is we need to roll the tape away from the tear, like so. So just roll it away from the tear, just like that. So we're not left with too bad an area, to be fair. So we've got a little bit of gap there, which we can probably fill with a little bit of black paint. So let's get some black paint. We've got here, so we've got a paintbrush and a pot, and we've got a little bit of paint to do that. So let's get a little bit of paint put in the pot. Don't want an awful lot, just want a little bit in the paint in the pot. So we're just using the the leather colorant dye, as you can see, and that's all we're using. So let's just get that painted, and we will be virtually completed at this. It's going to look a little bit strange at first, it's going to be wet, so it's going to look different, but we're just going to paint that along, and then we're going to dry that with the hairdryer. Let's just give that a quick dry and see how that looks. Well, it's looking pretty good already. So we're not too far off. We can get a little bit more paint in there into this line. The paint helps almost act as like a filler. You don't want to get too much in there because there is a grain line sort of running through here anyway. So, it's sort of like looking all part of this sort of grain that's running through, which is, brilliant, which is what we're trying to get it to do. So if we just sort of follow the grain line along, as you can see it here, and you can sort of get some of the colour into some of these grain lines if you wanted to, because it'll help to sort of disguise the tear that's in this vinyl item. So you're just sort of getting a very small amount in there, so it just makes it look fresher around those areas, and that just literally helps to disguise the tear. But to repair a tear in vinyl, that is exactly how we do that. Obviously if it's got a hole in it, then we can use heat cure fillers and regrain it that way, but we are virtually there. That is exactly how you're going to repair a tear in vinyl. It's very, very simple. Obviously, anything that you do is dependent upon your customer's expectations and what you're telling the customer that they're going to get as an end result. With this particular result here, we have just repaired the tear, we have not done any filling, and we have left it exactly as it is, because that was what was wanted to secure this tear. If you need to go ahead and put fillers in, we can put fillers in, and then we can put colour on top. But that would be a different sort of process and a different way around doing things, but that is exactly how you repair a tear on vinyl. So we've let that cure for a little bit, and as you can see, the finished results look absolutely spectacular, and it just looks like it's the grain running through all the way. As you can clearly see, the grain runs through here and runs all the way through, and it just follows the grain. So that is exactly how you would repair a tear in the vinyl. Like we say, if you wanted to put a little bit of filler in, you can do, but in all fairness, the main thing is it's secured, and that's exactly what was the achievement of this today, and it looks absolutely brilliant. Anything you need to know about leather or vinyl repairs, head on over to the website, leatherrepaircompany.com. We have all the products that you need to carry out any DIY solution or professional repair solution that you need to do, as a business or as a DIY individual at home. We're here to help with all of our videos. leatherrepaircompany.com. Thank you very much.